Has anybody ever told you, hey, you can't do that? I'm sure you have heard that before, especially if you're living a homesteading life. But you know what? I think we've all heard it at one time or another, a pursuit that we're going after, something we want to go do and tackle. And we've got the naysayers. We've got the people that say, you can't do that. Well, I want to talk about that today. It can be discouraging, and I hope today that I can give you a little bit of encouragement to keep on going, because sometimes life is just hard, but then you have this homesteading life to it, and wow, man, how in the world do we do all this? So I wanted to tell you a couple of stories about some moments in my life, in our life, where people said, you can't do that. That's not going to work. It's not going to happen. And one of the first times that somebody said that, particularly in our homesteading life, was about 18 years ago. And it was the first time we were planting heirloom seeds, or we were talking about it. We were getting ready to, we were talking about it. We were talking to other people about it. 18 years ago, everybody thought we were nuts. And right away, oh, you can't do that. That won't work. Well, we believed it could work. We wanted it to work. We believed in the idea that open pollinated, I guess that's really a better word more than heirloom, open pollinated was a better way to go. We don't want big box stores and big corporations controlling our food and our seed. And so that was in the early days. We didn't even know that much about gardening yet, but that was a momentum. That was a reason to go open pollinated, or heirloom. And you really couldn't even find the seeds hardly at all. Baker Creek Seeds or rareseeds.com was one of the earliest ones out there doing, and that's the only place we could find them. And it was a giant experiment. Everybody told us, oh, you're going to fail. That's not going to work. Those don't really work. And we're like, well, they're the way seeds were made to work. That was back in 2007. And it was one of our first big gardens. So we were really taking a risk. And we had just bought 5 acres. We were stepping up from a 1/4 acre, and we had really stretched ourselves. And so we knew that upping the food production was going to be important to help the budget out. And yet here we were taking this risk with open pollinated heirloom seeds. And everybody we knew, there wasn't a single person that supported us. Now, we didn't know a lot of, super seasoned gardeners, but we knew people that had gardened, and everybody just said, you can't do that. That's not going to work. That's going to fail. And you know what? We did it anyways. And we took that risk knowing that it was going to be a much harder year. We probably were quadrupling the size of our garden at that time. We really didn't even know much about soil. I mean, we knew enough about the food system and pesticides and herbicides that we were growing pretty clean. I wouldn't necessarily call it organic. Anyways, we did it. And wow, it exploded. It was it was the best garden we had ever had. And, we did that in the face of, you can't do that. That won't work. And that was a really huge moment for us as we were stepping out into this life of, homesteading, resiliency, working with the family close at home. And here, I want to just show you something real quick. Here we are 18 years later. And now, because of those heirloom seeds, we're growing and saving most of our own seed. This is parsnip here that is going to seed right here. And so we don't have to buy parsnip seeds, which grow really, really well in our area. If you haven't grown parsnips, you should try them if they'll grow well for you. It is a wonderful root crop that's highly, highly underrated. And of course, we got beets mixed in here. And you know what? This is our little seed batch right here. You don't have to do a lot to grow your own seed. I mean, we just take about 5 foot of the end of the bed and, put it into a seed right here. So there's beets. They're a little further out than the parsnips, and you can see some carrots right here. But that all started from 18 years ago of just ignoring the idea that, hey, you can't do that. Another big moment for us was no-till. And, we learned just gardening. You till up the sod, you till up the ground, you turn it over. Yeah, I had a little bit of compost. We didn't even know that much, right? And you put some seeds in the ground and you go. And then Paul Gauchi's Back to Eden film came out in, I think, 2011. And we stumbled across that. And we were like, what? Whoa, no way. You can not till the ground and it will still grow for you. And so we did our first garden like that in 2013. So it was years later. We'd been growing heirloom. And again, we had moved by this point, and we were in a gardening community now. A lot of people that gardened. And, maybe not sustenance gardening, but they produced a lot. And so we were around a lot of well-seasoned gardeners. We were still young gardeners at that point. And we decided to do this Back to Eden method, no-till. It was over heavy clay, and it was the first year we were gardening on this piece of ground. Again, another first year here, first garden. Everybody telling us, you can't do that. That's not gonna work. All right, well, we've tried this once and it worked, so let's try it again in the face of everybody just putting us down. And you know what's really funny? So we did it, and this garden's grown great, and it turned out to be a really, really wet year in the area that we were living at. It was not Idaho. And this was in Tennessee. We're in a heavy clay soil, and if you've lived in this environment, you understand when it gets wet, you can't go in the garden. You can't walk in there. And yet we had done this Back to Eden method with all this mulch. Our garden was doing fantastic, and we were harvesting things in the middle of this wet weather, and we would go to a neighbor's house, and actually we had so much. This was another year where we tripled the garden size, families growing. We actually were, really having to live on it at this point. And we had so much, we took some vegetables, I don't remember what they were, to neighbors. They said, you can't harvest that right now. I mean, they literally were giving them vegetables that we just pulled out of the garden. We're all excited. And they're like, you can't do that. I mean, they didn't say, how did you do that? How are you doing this? That wasn't a question. I mean, literally, it was like, oh, that's not, you can't do that right here, And I don't know. What do you say? What do you say other than, well, here you go. Enjoy. We're going to enjoy. And, this is often the journey of the homesteading life. I mean, I think it's the journey of a lot of life. If you're going to step out and live life, and you're going to, take some risk and follow, your dreams or your heart or what, has burdened your soul to tackle, and of course we're talking about in the context of homesteading, growing and raising more of your own food, but homesteading is really, just a part of a traditional life, an agrarian life, and it might be homeschooling. How many times have people heard, you're not going to be able to do that. You're going to fail. You can't, you're not smart enough. You don't have enough education to homeschool your kids. We're entrepreneurs. We've started multiple businesses. You're faced with, a lot of adversity, and a lot of that won't work. Matter of fact, when we launched the School of Traditional Skills, we launched it with what's called a summit. Many of you are familiar with that in online. It's like one of the biggest events in homesteading that people come to, and gathering some of, just the coolest people with the most experience in homesteading. And people told us we couldn't do that. Getting that many people together in one place online, both live with all the people that were bringing live and then all the attendees, said we couldn't do that. And we've just finished our 4th year of, these summits. I just want to be an encouragement to you. There's a lot going on in the world. There's a lot of things happening. There's often, a lot of discouragement, and there's a lot of naysayers, and a lot of reasons why, people might say, you can't live this life. You shouldn't live this life. You shouldn't pursue your heart and your dream. And again, we're talking in the context of homesteading, maybe, right? And growing your own food, maybe working closer than, kind of things that are just bucking the trend of modern life. Often it's the people that are closest to you. Sometimes it's in your house. It might be your husband or your wife. A lot of times it's your parents. For some of you, maybe your kids, that think you're nuts. And, I just want to say for a moment, I want to take a moment here and say, you can do that. And you will do that. Is it going to be easy? No, maybe not. Not at times. It's going to be really, really hard sometimes. Things worth doing are worth doing. And they're often not easy. But we've got to put away the naysaying. And we've got to step out and take some risk. Because you can do this. Whatever it is that's on your heart, that's on your mind, you can do it. It's not a matter of my mind and if, it's a matter of how. And yeah, it's a matter of fortitude, of being willing to do the work, of being willing to sacrifice. This homesteading life particularly, we give up a lot. We could live in town. We could go to the movies more, we could have more other kinds of hobbies. We could have more little doodads or things. We could certainly spend our time maybe entertaining ourselves or having fun more. But I'd say, hey, we've got a lot of great, look at this world around me right here. I don't need to go figure out how to entertain myself. Yeah, it's challenging. We're up early. We're often working hard, and we're managing the land while homeschooling the kids and managing a large family. And we've got 2 businesses to manage. So there's a lot that goes on. But man, is it so worth it. I've got my own challenges, my own moments of going, I don't think I can do this. And it's a struggle. But you know what? We've shown over and over that we can do this. And sometimes, like I was just referencing, I wasn't even planning to say that, but as thinking about my own reality, sometimes it's in our own head. Sometimes it's us saying to ourselves, you can't do that. That's not going to work. You're not enough. You're not smart enough. You're not strong enough. These beautiful fall raspberries right here. Got to stop and check those out. So sometimes it's ourselves, right? It's our own mind that gets in the way. And that's normal. Sorry, talking with my mouth full. Mama definitely taught me not to do that, but that's normal. We all experience that. And I'm definitely experiencing that right now with some things. That's just, life is full. There's a lot going on. There's a lot of things to tackle. And there's days right now where it just feels like, man, I don't know, can I do this? And it's not about all of it. I'm not saying I'm thinking about like quitting this life or anything like that, but there are things and they pile up and there's a lot. And anyways, I have to remind myself, yeah, you can do that. Yes, it's hard some days. Yes, some days I can't see the end. I can't see the end of where I'm going, right? That's walking by faith in believing. And of course, if you're a brother, sister in Christ, you understand that principle of following the Lord and walking by faith with hope and believing in what you cannot see yet. And that's so applicable. While it's important, extremely, it's the most important thing in our faith, right? But it's so applicable to life to hold on to that hope and that faith. I think one of the things that helps us overcome the I can't do that or the hey, you can't do that are both faith and knowing that you can, remembering the things that you have done, taking inspiration from others, and then knowing your why. Why are you doing this? Because it's going to be challenging. You're going to fail. But the only failure is quitting. The only failure is just quitting and giving it up. Okay? Failure is just an opportunity to learn. Okay, that's a way that I can't do, it's a way not to do it. Maybe we'll say it that way. Sometimes failures just, their circumstances out of your control and they set you back. But they don't have to be failures. They don't have to be I can'ts. They're just things to overcome. And this world's got everything right at our fingertips. Okay? It's just got everything right there. It says I should be able to push a button. I should be able to flip a switch. I should be able to watch a short video. And if it doesn't come that easy, maybe it shouldn't. Maybe I can't. I don't know. And that's just not the case. The things worth doing, the things worth having, and there's a lot wrapped up in that simple little word things, but they're worth the struggle. They're worth believing in. Maybe for a moment it's an encouragement to you. It's a good reminder to myself right now that whether it's people from the outside or whether it's the voice inside our head that's getting in our way, have hope, have faith, believe in what you're doing. If it's this homesteading life, believe in it. Be smart, be self-controlled, have discipline, but also have courage, have faith, have fortitude to get through the challenging moments, because you can. Whatever it is you set out to do, you can. And I know, again, I'm kind of waxing on here. That sounds like kind of this modern philosophy. You can do anything you want to. No, we've all got limitations. So, let's acknowledge that for sure. That's not what I'm talking about here. This isn't just some modern, you can do anything philosophy. We obviously have our limitations. We need to be smart about what we go about. And we need to plan and we need to think. But we also need to realize that there is a struggle. There is a challenge to get to where we want to go, to live the life that we want to live. And sometimes we've got to rise above the I can't and the you can'ts and see past that in the moment. The sun is just coming up. And it's just one of those fall moments that is just so, so beautiful that you just stop and take pause. So you know what? I'm going to end with that and give you the view. And I hope that you have a fantastic day. Be encouraged. Be of good cheer. Thanks for being on this journey with us. And I will see you soon.